Christine Persichetti. A bunch of Catholic volunteers are caring for God's creation, learning the ABCs of gardening, thanks to a community project run by the Sisters of St. Joseph. Currents News' Katie Vasquez takes us out to Hampton Bays, where the fruits of their labor are going to a good cause.
Tomatoes, yellow string beans, and basil, all grown organically thanks to some nuns in Hampton Bays.
Very busy.
The Sisters of St. Joseph say the Good Ground Heritage Garden is about caring for God's creation and sowing the seeds of that in others.
We have to draw from Pope Francis, saying his belief in the earth and the sacredness of it and the sharing of it with one another.
Once a week, volunteers go to St. Joseph Villa, where they learn to get their hands dirty, planting, cultivating, harvesting, and preserving produce in a cooperative learning environment.
It's a nice program to be able to kind of get the community involved, get some volunteers out, plant everything, watch it grow, see how it produces.
I garden kind of just for pleasure, not for production, trying to produce poundage, but this is more focused on that. And that's interesting to learn about.
But even though the volunteers are only gardening for fun, these crops are going to a good cause. The more than 1,000 pounds of fresh produce they have grown from this garden this season alone is being donated to the food pantry at nearby St. Rosalie Church, where up to 400 people a week rely on these vegetables to feed their families.
It is the dignity of our client that we are most concerned with. So when you go shopping as a consumer, that fresh produce is the golden food that you're going to be bringing home.
With more than 5 seasons of growing and giving, the volunteers have donated thousands of pounds of food, cultivating a sense of community, one string bean at a time.
This one's good size.
In Hampton Bays, Katie Vasquez, Currents News.
Cardinals and bishops from across the globe will soon be gathering at the Vatican, where they will have the first of 2 worldwide meetings for the Synod. The October undertaking is meant to figure out how we can grow together as a universal church. But lately, the highlight of discussion has been the perceived tensions between the Pope and a few American bishops. The papal representative to the United States, Cardinal-elect Christophe Pierre, counters the prelates are in communion with the pontiff.
This is what Pope Francis tells us all the time, tension is not bad. On the conditions that you are not totally enclosed in your tensions, you still try to look at the person and not just the idea that the person is carrying on.
Some reports are saying the Pope could impose pontifical secrecy on the Synod meeting, meaning not only would opinions and votes be kept confidential, but also the topics addressed. Taking a deeper dive now into next month's Synod on Synodality, we're joined by national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, John Lavenberg. Hey, John.
Hi, Christine.
So, John, tell us about the process leading up to the assembly at the Vatican and why there may be a need for secrecy.
Yeah, so this need for secrecy, and it's well known that inside the room at the Synod, no cameras, no journalists will be allowed. And that's because they think that's important to preserve honest and frank discussions, to allow all the delegates from around the world to express their true feelings on how to move the church forward, which is the goal of this Synod.
All right, so what are some of the topics that will be addressed?
So, of course, there's a lot of the hot button issues that have been well documented, talking about same-sex unions, married priests, women ordination, things of that nature. But then there's also issues looking at evangelization, catechesis, faith formation, topics that really about how do we evangelize and bring people to the church, the next generation to the church moving forward.
Wow, they're going to cover a lot. So how does the Synod on Synodality differ from previous synods with the bishops?
Sure. So this synod is different in the sense that up until this point, the Synod of Bishops has only been bishops allowed in those rooms to have those conversations. Now, for the first time, laymen and women religious will be there as well to participate in these discussions. And what's also unique is the Synod of Bishops is split into 2 parts, this October, and then it will conclude next October, where any formal changes will be announced.
All right, we'll have to wait and see what happens. John Lavenberg, national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Christine.
You can follow more of John's reporting on the Synod online at thetablet.org. A federal judge has declared a revised version of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA, unlawful. The Obama-era policy offers protection from deportation to immigrants who were brought into the country illegally as children. In the latest ruling by a Texas-based U.S. District Court judge, he found recent measures by the White House to strengthen DACA didn't change his opinion that it's unlawful. The decision blocks new enrollment, but does not affect the nearly 600,000 already enrolled. It is likely to be appealed. The Jesuits have pledged an additional $27 million to support the descendants of slaves. The pledge matches a similar sum made by Georgetown University. The order had relied on slave labor and sales for their day-to-day operations of churches and schools, which includes the nation's first Catholic college, now known as Georgetown University. Since that discovery, the Jesuits have contributed $42 million to a trust that supports the educational aspirations of the slave descendants. Finally tonight, a Queens high school honored a recent graduate who died over the summer. Fontbonne Hall Academy in Bay Ridge retired the number 17 at the end of Tuesday night's volleyball game. That was the number of Caileigh Duggan, who passed at the age of 18 from an unknown underlying heart condition. Caileigh had just finished her freshman year at the University of Tennessee and had dreams of becoming a nurse. The ceremony was held in the gym where she played both junior varsity and varsity volleyball. And that is this Currents News Update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.